Hey, this is Cassie, and you're watching Blue Blood Sports TV.
Shout out to Blue Blood Sports TV.
You're watching Blue Blood Sports TV.
Shout outs to Blue Blood Sports TV.
You're watching Blue Blood Sports TV. Hola, habla Cindy, está viendo Deportes TV.
What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, undefeated, 50-0, TBE, Mr. Pound for Pound, Mr. Pay-Per-View, Floyd Money Mayweather has been slighted as the greatest small boxer in the history of the sport of boxing by Hall of Fame heavyweight, multiple-time world champion, George Foreman. Big George Foreman. Now, I know a lot of you millennials today know him as the guy that made the George Foreman grill, but George Foreman was a terror in his day. You know, George Foreman is a Hall of Famer. You know, George Foreman was favored to beat Muhammad Ali back in his day, back in Zaire, right? George Foreman beat Joe Frazier. See, this is the George Foreman that I'm talking about. Now, I know a lot of you guys know George Foreman. Like I stated, you millennials know him as George Foreman, the grill maker. I'm talking about George Foreman, the boxer. You know, the Hall of Famer. He stated that he was asked, you know, where does he rank Floyd Mayweather, and how would he see a fight between Floyd Mayweather and Sugar Ray Leonard? How would he see that playing out? George Foreman says he's picking Floyd Mayweather every day, every minute, over everybody in the middleweight division down. He says that Floyd Mayweather was a genius, and you give him a few rounds and he take all the data, he put all the data, he starts to process it, and you're in trouble. He says that, you know, he don't see, you know, he wouldn't see Sugar Ray Leonard beating him, Sugar Ray Robinson beating him, or any of those guys down at the lower weights, right? And so I'm talking about George Foreman, who's a Hall of Famer. If you guys don't know, again, George Foreman beat Ken Norton. He beat Joe Frazier, right? He beat, you know, guys, Joe Frazier. When he beat Joe Frazier had the WBC title. He had the WBA title. Joe Frazier was undefeated. Joe Frazier had already previously beat Muhammad Ali. This is the Joe Frazier we're talking about. You understand? George Foreman then lost. He was favored to beat Muhammad Ali. He lost to him in Zaire back in 74, right? He came back in 76. He beat Ron Lyle, right? He knocked Ron Lyle out, right? And then George Foreman, you know, went on the tear. He beat Joe Frazier again in 76, right? You know, he went on the absolute tear. He lost to Jimmy Young in 77, you know, and then George Foreman went on an absolute tear once again. Not losing until 1991 when he lost to Evander Holyfield. You understand what I'm saying? This is the George Foreman that I'm talking about, right? He lost. He came back. He won all the way up until the Holyfield loss in 91. Then he went on a 3-run tear then, and then lost to Tommy Morrison in 93. He fought in 2 different eras. Then he beat Michael Moore for the WBA title. And the IBF title, become unified once again. You understand? He then went on to defend that title 3 more times before losing to Shannon Briggs. So this is the big George Foreman I'm talking about, not the grill maker. So this version of George Foreman, he know what he's talking about. You understand? George Foreman, he fought in 2 different eras, like I stated, right? He started boxing in the 60s, right? In 69 was his first professional boxing match, June of 69. You understand? And he fought all the way up until 97. So he fought in 2 different eras. He nearly fought in 2000, right? 30 years of boxing for George Foreman. You understand? So George Foreman is a historian of the sport. George Foreman knows about the sport of boxing. You understand? He used to be an analyst for HBO, but he couldn't take how they were doing things over there at HBO. He didn't like how they were biased. He didn't like how Jim Lampley was doing things. He got into it with Jim Lampley on air a few times, right? And then George Foreman, you know, he said, listen, let me step away before I do something that I regret. This is Big George Foreman. So when Big George Foreman speaks, you listen. So George Foreman says, you know, no little man can compete with Floyd Money Mayweather Jr. or Pretty Boy Floyd. Whichever version of Floyd Mayweather you want to use. He says once he collects data, once he processes the data and collects it, right, you in trouble. He says I don't see any guy under in the middleweight, from the middleweight division on down, competing with Floyd Mayweather. Yeah, there'll be high level competition bouts, but can they beat Floyd Mayweather? Absolutely not. So he said he would pick Floyd Mayweather to beat Sugar Ray Leonard, Sugar Ray Robinson, Tommy Hearns, Marvin Hagler, Aaron Pryor, Pernell Whitaker, any of those guys down there, right? And my thoughts are this. I would have to agree with George Foreman, to a certain extent. I think guys like Tommy Hearns would give him a lot of trouble. I think that he would beat Marvin Hagler. And the reason I say he would beat Marvin Hagler is because when Marvin Hagler stepped in the ring and stepped up in competition, he changed his fighting style for whatever reason. Now, I'm not sure why he did it, but he chose to change his fighting style for whatever reason. This is what Marvin Hagler did, right? When you see Marvin Hagler, against Duran, he decided to try to box against Duran instead of being the monster that he was, right? He chose to switch up his style instead of being the monster that he was, right? And against Floyd Mayweather, against Sugar Ray Leonard, he decided to try to box Sugar Ray Leonard. You understand? So, I think Marvin Hagler, once he stepped in the ring with Floyd Mayweather would force Marvin Hagler to fight at his pace, right? Sugar Ray Leonard, had trouble. When you watch Sugar Ray Leonard against Floyd Mayweather Sr., he had trouble in that fight. And yeah, he eventually broke down Floyd Mayweather Sr., right? And he got the victory in that fight, but he still had trouble with Floyd Mayweather Sr., right? It was the style of Floyd Mayweather Sr. And we know that Floyd Mayweather Jr. took the style of Floyd Mayweather Sr. and elevated it, right? So I can only expect, now the difference here is that Floyd Mayweather Jr. is smaller than Floyd Mayweather Sr. So that might come into play. And Sugar Ray Leonard was athletic. He was fast, right? And he was 5'10". So, he was a monster in his own right. You understand? So you can't take nothing away from Sugar Ray Leonard. So it's a strong possibility that Sugar Ray Leonard can be victorious. But still, I think that Floyd Mayweather ring IQ, because sometimes, like we seen in the first Duran fight with Sugar Ray Leonard, and we seen in the Tommy Hearns fight with Sugar Ray Leonard, we saw, Sugar Ray Leonard, losing those fights, right? And those dudes, Duran, the first fight, was in Sugar Ray Leonard's mind. So I think Floyd Mayweather could possibly be in Sugar Ray Leonard's mind, right? A strong possibility. You understand? So, and when you look at Tommy Hearns, I think Tommy Hearns give him the most trouble because of Tommy Hearns' length and the power, right? And Tommy Hearns' accuracy. Tommy Hearns also had a high ring IQ, so he'd give him a lot of trouble. But of them all, I think the man that would give him the most trouble and possibly defeat him would have to be none other than Sugar Ray Robinson, right? You can't go wrong when you're talking about Sugar Ray Robinson. You understand what I'm saying? So I think that when you look at Sugar Ray Robinson, his size, right? His grit, you understand? His ring IQ, his boxing skills, his power, I think that will come into play. And I think that's the man that ultimately, if any one of them could defeat him from the middleweight down, will be Sugar Ray Robinson. But I still say that Floyd Mayweather, it's still a 50-50 fight. And I still give Floyd Mayweather a chance to defeat Sugar Ray Robinson, because Sugar Ray Robinson struggled with guys with lesser talents at times, right? And that could be due to the activity. Sugar Ray Robinson fought a lot of guys multiple times also. So I have to agree with George Foreman. I think that Floyd Mayweather is the greatest little man from middleweight on down. That's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. And I know a lot of people going to say, hey, Blue, how could you say such a thing? Well, that's just my opinion. I think that Floyd Mayweather high ring IQ. I think Floyd Mayweather ability to make adjustments. I think Floyd Mayweather, accuracy. He's the most accurate boxer in the sport of boxing history. right? And I think that these things will come into play, right? I think they understated. I think the fact that people love to say, well, Floyd Mayweather didn't have no power. Yeah, well, I think it's understated because Floyd Mayweather had hand injuries like a lot of other boxers. You understand? So I think his power is underrated, right? Because if you look at Pretty Boy Floyd, he was knocking dudes out. He was in brawls. You understand? He was mixing it up with the best of them. That's what he was doing. So when you look at it in that, right, you know, I think that Floyd Mayweather was the greatest little man, and I think George Foreman does have a point. But that's all I got for y'all. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed? Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. Big George Foreman, Hall of Famer, says Floyd Money Mayweather, undefeated, TBE, is the greatest boxer from the middleweight division on down. That's all I got for y'all. Peace. If you haven't purchased your Focus Ball, go purchase your Focus Ball at thefocusball.com. Perfect for hand-eye coordination, perfect for accuracy in combat sports. Use the promo code Blue Blood Sports TV and get 10% off.